Welcome back. It is still Monday, March 9th, 2015. This is still the morning edition. Last I checked, I'm still Yelevi. Thank you for staying with us, as you should have. Why? International Women's Day marked this week, and when it comes to feminism in Israel, one name rises above all others, Merav Michaeli. The woman at the forefront of most of the feminist debates, battles, and as of late also political bills she has been trying to pass as a Knesset member with the Zionist camp, has spent her many years in the public eye. Now, prior to entering politics, Merav Michaeli was known as one of Israel's most prominent journalists, an op-ed writer for Haaretz newspaper and the producer and star of her own primetime documentary and current affairs television and radio programs. Yes, that's what you find out when you Google her, but she is best known for her ability to consistently challenge conventional views, mainly those who deal with women's rights. Never afraid to tackle taboo subjects, Michaeli gave a TED lecture back in 2012 arguing in favor of canceling the institution of marriage. And we are very happy to be joined in studio by the Zionist Union Israel Labour Party MP, Merav Michaeli. Merav, good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for this amazing introduction. I mean, can't get any better from here, you know.
I know. Now I'm going to make it hard.
Okay.
But first of all, you are, and I'm not just saying this, even though flattery does get us everything, whether you're a man or a woman, one of the most impressive women, I think, in the Middle East and in Israel. It takes guts to say what you've said in many, many years. You are now in politics. Actually, to start by this, you said before you entered politics that you were afraid you were going to enter the system and find out that there's no ability to make change from within.
Right.
What do you think now?
I was amazed to find out how much you can do, and saying this from the opposition after spending almost 2 years in the opposition. And often I'd feel like I was in a candy store, that, you just need to just
Really?
pick and choose so many options, so many amazing things that you can do. If only I had more staff, which is a problem in Israeli.
Oh my God, yeah.
In Israeli parliament, we have very, very little staff to work with, unfortunately. But if really I could have done so much more. I was able to pass legislation that I didn't dare to dream that I would be able to do in my first term, and certainly in my first 2 years. So certainly you can do a lot. Maybe it changes when you become the government, even though it should be, the other way around.
Completely.
But I'm sure we'll find that out after March 17th when Yitzhak Buji Herzog forms the government, and we'll be able to find out how much you can actually do when you are the government and you are the ones who determine the policies.
Well, listen, you've called the elections, and I'm asking you about that. These elections, and first of all, it's wonderful to hear as a woman that if the government is a candy store, there are many things that, I would like to pick and choose and put you at the forefront of them. But women, these elections, let's start by that, within the Israeli politics, nicely represented, especially one has to state the obvious, in the Zionist camp. There are many women in very, very important strategic places in that list. But over the course of the last several weeks, the strongest woman who joined that camp, Tzipi Livni, their political analysts, and I'm stating what many critics have said, seems to have been hidden away, seems to have been pushed aside because people believe within the camp, or so they say, that she is not good for the polls.
This is yet another spin coming from Likud, coming from the right. There was a column at the end of the week in Haaretz trying to realize why the right hates Tzipi Livni so much. What is it about her that makes them so uncomfortable? So this is just one other spin. I mean, only this morning you could hear Tzipi Livni on the most prominent radio show in the radio. She's everywhere. She's not going anywhere. She's definitely not being hidden. This union between her and Herzog, I mean, on a personal level also, is so strong. There's so much trust there. There's a notion of a joint vision, a joint mission that they're going for together. She's really a prominent part of the Zionist Union today, and she's not going anywhere.
And when it comes to the criticism towards her, be it spin or not, people say that the critics say that she has jumped ship or changed agendas over the course of her political career. Do you think she would face the same criticism if she were a man?
Yes, I think Shaul Mofaz, about the agenda, Shaul Mofaz at the time said, you remember he said he'd never leave Likud,
right.
And then he went to Kadima, and he was criticized over that. But it's not that she wouldn't have been criticized were she a man, but it's about the tone, the volume. I mean, it's becoming much more, the criticism is becoming much more dominant and much more the face of things when it is about a woman. Now, it's not about changing her agenda, actually. They're attacking her for changing parties because she stuck to her agenda. This is the amazing thing. They're accusing her for sticking to her beliefs and ideology and therefore moving from one party to another where she thought she'd be able to actually act on what she believes. So yes, chauvinism, sexism haven't gone anywhere.
They still exist,
Yes.
sadly. So speaking of chauvinism, sexism, and and females and women in Israel, there are several interesting polls that came out over the course of the last weeks. I'd call them, not disturbing, but women supposedly in Israel, and this is according to a Ynet poll, do not really vote for women. They vote more for men. They find that men are more reliable, and I'm wondering with you out loud, where have we gone wrong? Women at the forefront in trying to lead the agenda in that, and also that women seem to prefer Prime Minister Netanyahu when they go into the booth.
So first of all, let me just correct one thing. When Tzipi Livni back in 2009 was a candidate for Prime Minister, women voted for her in huge numbers. This was the one time there was a very clear and distinct gender vote in Israel, really in huge numbers. Women just voted for Tzipi Livni. I think many of them, regardless of her policies, just because for the first time since Golda Meir, we had a woman candidate for Prime Minister, which made women, I think, proud, and it made them identify with her immediately and instinctively without regard to really what she was standing for, I think. It's true that today, women, by the way, you're saying that they prefer men. Unfortunately, I find that they prefer Netanyahu and Lapid over Herzog. So it's not that they don't prefer men, they prefer macho men. This is the most disappointing thing, maybe.
Will we never learn?
Yes. And where did we go wrong? I don't think it's, I wouldn't like to put the blame on us. With all due respect, we still live in a man's world. The images we're all exposed to are still images created by men for the benefit of men. And the question is about leadership. What does the word leadership bring into mind? And it brings to mind the suit. And the suit is tailored for a man. There's this new Hollywood movie. It's called Kingsman, I think. And Colin Firth, he says there that the suit is the armor of the modern man, which is so correct.
One of the best descriptions.
And we do not have such an armor. Women are supposed to wear things that not only don't they hide our body and leave out the head, the leadership, but rather are designed to do exactly the opposite, to put the body in the front. So it has a direct link to leadership. I don't know if any of your viewers or you have watched the movie Misrepresentation. The very important.
We just discussed actually in the previous segment. Yes.
And Misrepresentation shows the direct link between the representation of women on the media in America and in the Western world to what we can do and our opportunities in the real world in general and in leadership and politics especially.
No, and it's a valid, very true point. Other than you, and one cannot say this about you, you entered politics with a very clear agenda. You have not blinked throughout your years in journalism or in politics that feminism, the female issue, is at the top of the agenda. But there's also the argument, and one can show it also in polls, that women, while they enter politics in Israel, start shedding off their feminist agenda and feel that in order to succeed and in order to actually be more, one would say lean in, if I can use that term, in order to lean in, yes you can.
Yes you can.
In order to lean in, you have to be more male, you have to be more macho, or you have to be more butch.
It's, first of all, this goes for,
in any form of profession.
But about leaving the feminism aside, this is, I think, the more important point, because you can debate the point of how macho do you need to become as a woman, but it's undebatable that you need to put feminism aside because it's considered to be a niche. And while you're dealing with niches, you cannot become a national leader. Now, I will say about myself that it's not that feminism is my primary agenda or primary topic. It's the lens through which I look at everything. And I said that in my inaugural speech in the Knesset. There is no such thing as women apart from men, apart from society, economy, security, nationality, anything. First of all, we as women are a part of everything. And the other thing is that I am not asking how do we save the unfortunate women from their destiny, but rather how do we as women, with our view of the world, save the society? How do we come and make a better society and a better world from our feminist perspective and understanding? This is our mission. Now, men are doing their best to undermine this option.
Right.
So that is the reason, I think, why many women tend to, well, they wouldn't say, fortunately, and this is really, I'm happy to say that most members of Knesset in Israel today will testify to themselves as feminists, but they will not put this at the front.
At the front of the agenda.
That's true.
Exactly. They will not put it at the front of the agenda because they most likely might lose votes.
Because we still are a minority. In Israel, we were, the last Knesset was the one with the largest number of members, 27 out of 120. That's still a little less than a quarter. In America, they still haven't managed to pass over 20% representation of women, parities, like this long forgotten dream. As long as we're a minority, this will remain a problem. And one of the things that one of the legislations that I presented, I didn't have a chance to promote it.
Because the government fell apart.
Talks about minimum 40% representation for each sex
Gender.
in every party that wants to run for the Knesset, mandatory. Hopefully, we'll be able to promote it. In the next term.
In the next term. But I'm wondering with you, because, all the points very valid, but we also, women here in the Middle East, live in a certain reality, in a region where actually the patriarchal society is gaining more traction. Now, in a lecture that you gave in 2012 at TED, that my partner and I'm not going to call him my husband, my partner and I over yesterday on the balcony had a big fight about it, because he said marriage actually is more for the benefit of women. It protects women and it goes against the man's natural agenda. Though, what I'm leading to here is, do you think that what you are demanding or asking women to do, to look like you at the world through a prism of feminism, is something that sadly is not that viable in this day and age, is not something that they can actually, let's face it, there are women in the Middle East, I'm not talking, the Iraqi women, the women in Kurdistan, and even women in Israel that can't afford to let go of that institution.
I beg to differ. Not about the institution, leave the institution aside for a minute, but about looking through this lens. Feminism and huge and powerful feminist women and feminist movements are rising in Iraq, in Afghanistan, Check it out. Huge, amazing feminist forces are, first of all, of course, we're part of...
endangering their lives, but, the voices are trying to be heard.
But that's what they're doing. Yeah. And they were a part of what drove what was called at the time the Arab Spring.
Right.
A very important part of it.
Look at what happened to them in Egypt because of that. That's the concern. That's the question. I'm not saying shut up, but yeah.
But this is part of the revolution. This is always what happens during revolutions. And it's also true in Israel. Look at the ultra-Orthodox women who came out now against their own parties saying, we demand to be represented. It didn't work yet. It will be so in the next term. I'm sure in next elections we'll see ultra-Orthodox women in ultra-Orthodox party. It's happening all the time because we do not have another choice.
No, amen to that.
We have no other alternative.
Amen. I mean, we have very little time left. Do you think Israel is ready again for a female prime minister, and do you think you'll ever be one?
Oh, ever for sure. I don't know how soon, but ever.
Ready. You think that Israel is ready?
It will be.
Sooner than... Yeah, no, I think we need several more years on. And finally, as you said, and you plugged it, and you're still here, and you are a politician, in the coming election, are we looking at a change, or we're looking at a complete...
I have I don't want to say faith, because I really believe that that's what's going to happen. I'm sure that Herzog will be the one forming the next government, it will be a center-left government that will make a difference.
Merav Michaeli, I cannot tell you how much fun I had. I don't know about you, but it was great.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.